people coming for vacations. I know it's known for a very good vacation spot or country to visit for vacations. I want to know any other investment opportunities that Hawaii is open to.
That's a good question. The mainstay for right now for Hawaii is tourism, and
Okay.
right now the military and tourism is what's there.
Okay.
My my mission statement here is to rebuild the kingdom and to bring back our culture, our tradition, and our history, and to honor our ancestors. And these is to bring back the true essence of the hula, the dance. In our hula, our hands tell the story, our genealogy,
Yeah.
we are. It tells the story of how the islands was created by Kupele. It goes on and on. The beauty of Hawaii is its people, its culture.
Yeah.
When you destroy the culture and its beauty, then you have no more Hawaii. When colonization came to Hawaii, they tried to make us people that we are not. And people like myself and other my family, parents, uh, aunts, uncles, our ancestors fought against that. We are Kanaka.
Yeah.
We are Hawaiians. This is our land. The people that can protect the land, its sacred land, is its people because they are born there. It's their ancestral land. It is who we are. Our kalo, our tarot, it describes our genealogy. Our chant speaks to who we are as a people, and we are truly, because as you mentioned, is a beautiful place in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean, all by itself. But yet we're not alone because as a people today, we are now moving forward to be more recognized. Our languages come back. Before was forbidden to speak Hawaiian. I speak fluent Hawaiian, but now we can speak our language today. We have Hawaiian immersion schools that we have our keikis, our kamali'is, our children learning Hawaiian. Our culture is being taught by our kupunas, our elders, and these are really important. Our history, the true history of Hawaii, is being taught, not what the colonizers wanted to teach, which is wrong. Columbus was not a good man; he was an evil man. James Cook was not a good man; he was an evil man. So even the First Nations don't recognize Thanksgiving as a place of good because it was evil. So as the king speak to this, check those facts. But it's important that although all this evil is about, we still need to find the security in our hearts to forgive and to move forward.
Yeah.
And that's what Hawaii is all about. So I'm building several things in Hawaii, and I would like to share with you. One is it'll one day replace the United Nations, which is a corrupt organization in itself. The peace itself will bring together the world where we truly and genuinely work with each other, enter into treaties that cannot be broken all the time. You have one person trying to uphold the treaty, and the other one breaks it. First Nations people, every treaty except the Larimer Treaty is still in place, but most of the treaties have been broken. How can a people continue to follow the rules of law when those who create those laws break them? Makes no sense, does
Yeah.
it?
It doesn't.
So we know those are the problems. And as I mentioned, as I travel and speak, as I say to all Africans and all tribal chiefs, etc., you don't need permission from the colonizer. You don't need permission from England, who occupied your land, from the French, from the Germans, from the United States. You don't need their permission. You got China right now trying to take much of Africa's land and its natural resources. You don't need China there. You folks have all the natural resources there to build the biggest and strongest economic nation in the world.
Yeah.
You have leaders that have ideas. These leaders are failing its people, then get rid of those leaders and bring leaders that will bring Africa out of the darkness into the light. Because Africa can be self-sustainable. Africa can be sovereign. You don't need all these other countries who have come into Africa only to steal its natural resources.
Exactly.
You have brilliant minds. You have Nelson Mandela, who was there. He was president of South Africa. You have
Mr. President.
many people who rely upon each other,
Mr. President.
not outside, because that.
I want to bring you into the conversation now.
Knows their people. These are important.
Having some
Your Excellency, Dr. Clary, sir, you have any question?
I think
we're having
some delay, So sometimes when we talk, we kind of like talk over each other because the the way that sounds travel. So we have to kind of wait till the person finish talking and get a little silence, and then we come back and ask the other question, because I might hear it faster than you, and you might hear it slower than I am. So let me just bring the president of AFRIDO into the conversation. Mr. President, Dr. Ugo.
Thank you. I'm here.
You've heard what His Royal Highness. You've heard what His Royal Highness have said. Being the president of AFRIDO and hearing what he said concerning Africa and China and all these things, tell us a little bit of AFRIDO and how does AFRIDO intend to solve some of these and alleviate some of these problems?
Well, first of all, I think I should have introduced myself properly and then begin with the explanation of AFRIDO and how AFRIDO came into place. I think it is necessary so that people will be able to understand it. If you permit me, because if I jump on that, maybe people may not be able to really understand the area, how we got involved. Now, okay, my full name, I'm Archbishop Professor Chineberane Elechi Obu, and I'm a priest. Like you could see, you call me Bishop or Archbishop. I'm a human rights educator. I'm a freedom advocate. I'm an educator in the area of diplomacy, international negotiation, peace, restoration, resolution, and I'm also a Pan-Africanist. Okay, AFRIDO is actually African Diaspora Union as an organization, in which we are a civil society organization, and we are in many countries. But the head office is right here in South Africa. Most of the listeners may not know that you are actually in Trinidad, and His Royal Majesty is in Hawaii, while Barrister Deika is in Nigeria. So that's how AFRIDO is scattered in many countries. And most of those countries, they are very legitimate in those countries. Now, as a civil society organization, we have in mind to integrate Africans into every nation where they are. And we want to unite Africa without borders. Come to think of it, it became necessary for us to bring in very responsible citizens, very powerful citizens into place. That's where people like His Royal Majesty considering his status quo, we brought him in as a special envoy. All the people that are our special envoys, they are people that the government can listen to. Wherever they are, different parts of the government, different parts all over the world, that people can listen to them. They have integrity. Now, we could see that over 500 years ago, over 500, some could say 400 years ago, but then they have been talking about 400 years ago for more than 3-4 decades. But we know that it's over 500 years ago, and most of our fathers and the mothers and sisters and brothers were forcefully taken into slavery and taken, across Africa. And that where they developed, after many years, some of the Caribbean countries, South America, some of them African Americans and everything. Now, AfriDo, they intend to see how to first making sure that Africa itself must have independence economically. Without economic independence, you can't get political independence. That is one of the ways we intend to liberate the situation. I don't know if I am, directly to the question you have asked, or you have to rephrase the question.
No, you're going in the right direction. You're going in the right direction. You are going in the right direction. You're building a case why AfriDo exists. So you're going in the right direction. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now, I will tell you this. How AfriDo came into place as a vision. For 2 decades, over 2 decades, I've been traveling, across the globe, meeting with our brethren, those of them who are African descendants, the people we call the African diaspora. And they all share one story, though from different backgrounds. And you find out that they are not comfortable where they are. They really want to reach out to their motherland. Most of them, their generations and generations never visited Africa, but they know where they are. They know where they come from, their culture, everything. At some point, the considerations are, how do we actualize their dream of coming to the motherland? How do we make this happen? But there were 3 things that actually gave room or gave opportunity for this. First, the United Nations Resolution 64/169 of December 18, 2009, by which it proclaimed 2011 as the International Year of the People of African Descent. Second, the United Nations Resolution 68/237 of December 23, 2013, in which it proclaimed the International Decade for People of African Descent, commencing from 1st January 2015 to end on the 31st December 2024, with the theme, People of African Descent, Recognition, Justice, and Development. Number 3, the African Union Declaration of the Global African Diaspora Summit of the 25th May 2012 in Sandton, Johannesburg, South Africa. That sparked up the vision of AfriDo, the African Diaspora Union. We got opportunity to say, okay, What we are looking for, we have it. So it was this for a union whereby we can have the opportunity to fulfill the dreams of our African diasporans, the African descendants. So we are aligning with the African Union 2063 vision, but especially on integration of the diaspora.
Okay.
I'll stop. Yeah.
Okay. Really good. And this question is for both you and the king. When I think about diaspora, I think about people of color. Um, when I looked at some of the notes of Afrodu's agenda was particularly targeted towards people who either were born in Africa or people who are within the diaspora. In other words, that diaspora is a word that when you hear it, if you don't know what it means, it could become confusing to the general public. Before I ask both of you this particular question, um, could you explain the word diaspora to our listeners?
Okay. Let me explain before His Royal Majesty can come in.
Yes.
The diaspora, by general interpretation, are those who live outside their environment where they originally came from. That's the interpretation of diaspora. But the United Nations African Union interpretation of diaspora, African diasporas, are actually the African descendants, those people that were forcefully taken away from their environment and put into slavery or subjected into, whatever. That is who they call the diaspora.
Okay.
And not those that just migrated and left their land out of migration to live in a foreign land.
His Royal Majesty.
I agree with the bishop as to what diaspora means, because it's a very deep subject matter, because there's no right or wrong in explanation, but what he said is actually true. When you talk about the slavery, you talk to people who are there who are not there, and I agree with him totally. Thank you.
Okay, great. Barrister Adenike, do you have any questions you want to ask right at this point in time? I have another question for them. The question comes up in my mind. Here we are with two distinguished guests, the President of Afrodu and the King of the Kingdom, His Royal Majesty, King Edmund, and I'll just say the last name, Kelile, all right?
Kelii.
Kelii.
Yes.
How does Hawaii fit into the diaspora functions? Tell us a little bit more about Hawaii. Based on the explanation that Dr. Ugu gave us, and you agreed, tell us how Hawaii fits into the diaspora mission and vision, and what is your role in making that accomplished?
Thank you for the question. First of all, it's not Hawaii, it's Hawaii. Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Oh. Hawaii.
So we pronounce it wrong.
Always. But
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Okay. Well, I never knew that. I'm
Okay.
learning as we go along. So most people
Hava-
Mm.
pronounce your country's name wrong.
Well, Ha is breath, Va is water, E is to God. So God is ever present in Hawaii. His Ha, his breath, his love. That's what Hawaii means.
Okay.
The love of God. The bishop and the reason I agree because Hawaii is in the same position that he just detailed for us in bringing back the the return of the kingdom is the same idea, the same message statement that the bishop has offered to us today. And through that, what he did not say, but I could understand, is through education to bring back the true reality of what really was, rather than what we were taught. Unfortunately, we were taught wrong things about everything. Now it's incumbent upon us to properly bring the truth of what happened to Africa, similarly to what happened to Hawaii. As I mentioned, Hawaii was stolen in 1893. Well, Africa was also stolen by the colonizers. And then it created all the other problems for Africa, as it did with the Hawaiian Islands. Today, you have many Africans who are destitute. There's rich, there's the poor, there's educated, there's non-educated. There's similar with Hawaii. Today, many of my people are sleeping homeless or houseless, I should say, on the beaches or in the mountains of Hawaii because they cannot afford living on their own land. That is terrible. They can't afford to live in their own island. It's a kingdom. They can't afford that because the cost of living in Hawaii is high. So similar with everything else, we all have the same journey is to right the wrongs of history, put it to where it needs to be, and work from there to build peace, healing, and reconciliation with all nations. Thank you for the question.
Right. Right. I'm going to turn over the next question to my co-host. I know she has some questions for you as well.
My next question is for His Excellency the President. So, Mr. President, sir, I want to know what are the objectives of AFRIDO? What are the objectives of AFRIDO, the vision objectives of AFRIDO?
Okay. Our intention and our objectives is to unite Africa without borders. First, we consider going into Europe. They call themselves Schengen countries. And they are experiencing situation that you travel from Germany to France, from Belgium to France, or from Belgium to Switzerland, and from Switzerland to Italy. From this one, you enter into many countries. Sometimes you may not even know when you are crossing the border. But at some border gates, it's just like a parking lot where the pole would be, can be raised up. So nobody is there to stamp your passport or check things. Some of them you can use just your card to swipe and the gate opens. But in Africa, it becomes difficult to do trading, to cross the border. For example, I was born in Nigeria as a Nigerian citizen, grew up in Nigeria, lived in South Africa for 20 years as a South African citizen. Now I have dual citizenship. Yet, if I want to travel to countries like in the East Africa, in the North Africa or Central Africa, the process of getting visa becomes a problem. So Africa do not have access to itself. Number one, we want to unite Africa without borders. Two, we want to integrate Africans, those who are diasporas, into Africa, giving them the opportunity. That's why we created the tripod stand that came out of the Global Diaspora Declaration in the summit, which African Union did. We created a tripod stand. Now, in our tripod stand, that's where we look at it, one, to give the opportunity to those diasporans, those African descendants, whom we call the African diaspora, the opportunity to come back to their motherland, to become citizens, to be free, to live amongst us, to vote and be voted for, to become full Africans and participate in activities of Africa. Number two, to give opportunity for Africans in diaspora and other people who wants to do investment, bringing investment into Africa in order to help Africa grow in both their technology and economy. Number three, making sure that there is cultural affiliation for those who may not wish to come back to Africa, but to identify themselves with Africa. So these are our major objectives. Apart from other things, we said, okay, we could also be helpful in the area of the humanitarian services to, African and the peoples of the, people of color all over the world. But the first one I mentioned are our major objectives.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. So my last question to you is, okay, just draw the curtains for us. Let us see. Since you said AFRIDO has members all over the world, so what is the structural organization you have on ground? What's the organizational structure of AFRIDO?
First, we are talking about the structure, the organogram. But I would also want to touch on something when His Royal Majesty mentioned about education.
Okay, sir.
Mentioned about education. Now, if you look at, I have the United Nations General Assembly in the declaration of their resolution with regards to years of African descendants, and also the African Union declaration of 2012 here. They talked about history. It is important that Africa's history has to be rewritten. It is very important because, yes, it was our histories that were given are being premeditated by our colonial masters, not real history that is being given to us. So, unfortunately, also some of the leaders or some of the Africans we have, some of them are just mere orators who come and talk and talk and talk, and they are known for their talk, and people clap hands, but nothing is being done. The first and foremost Africa needs to do is actually to change our curriculum, changing the educational curriculum to ensure that Africa trains their generations to come in the area of technology, because we have ended up being professional consumers. We are not producers. Africa education mostly is being given to ensure that most of us are politicians, most of us are lawyers, most of us are people that talk. But for you to rule in this universe now, it must be in the area of technology, so that our people can grow in technology. That's one. And also want you to understand that whoever that prepares their curriculum